form.
Yes.
But there were, it went round with the local reach. There were a number that were delivered by hand as well to other areas that we knew definitely weren't going to get local reach. But obviously some didn't get it.
No, actually, I spoke with somebody. She happened to be in the shop the day it goes, so I said, well, there's one there.
Yeah. And they're still in they are still in the various pubs and the post telephone box.
But I don't think it has one around everyone,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Flooding issues, Brent Street, current improvement.
We've had quite a bit of email correspondence from people saying they've still got problems down there. It appears to be on one side of the road, it says to be on the Old Manor side, doesn't it? Rather than where the development is going.
Yeah, they cleared that one out.
They've cleared that one out, and it's on the list, so Bob tells me it's on the list to be done on the other side as well eventually.
Yeah.
It's got to be done before they start any building, isn't it? It must be.
Yeah,
Well, I thought so.
We did say that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
we should push on. Just for clarity, the one that was flooding originally was on the
development
it was on the development side. That has been cleared, so that is now flowing. The other one was actually buried under the hedge until they cut the hedge back. So from what I'm told by county, they have been out, they have jetted, they have tried to clear the gullies. There is something blocking it under the road. It may well mean that they're going to end up digging up that part of Brent Street to find out what's
That's
on
right.
it.
They must
Yeah.
before they start building.
But as I say, in terms of what the developers had said they would do, was sorting out the one that was causing the problem that we knew about. That is now sorted. And don't forget, where they've taken those trees out and the road is going to come out, they are going to have two new gullies on either side of the new road as well to take flow of water as well. So, but yes, that should all be sorted. But it's county who are doing the bit under the road because it's under the road.
Thank you. Battleborough Lane and the gates for Mr Mills Roberts. I've been through to the contractor by email and telephone, and I'm waiting for him to come back to me with installation of the gates and the posts down Battleborough Lane. So as soon as I get him, I'll try and get it done.
Could you add to that? Could he put the sign, the no cycling sign on the gate by the church, which I've got in the house, requested?
I'll add that to the...
Would you add that to it?
Yeah.
It's 4 screws, but...
Okay. Okay.
And what should I do with the sign? Get it to you or something like that?
If you give it to me, then I can give it to him when I give him the
Certainly, that's
Battleborough
fine.
Lane signs.
Good.
Okay. Village Green, John.
Anything on the Village Green?
Village Green, well, we've gone round the circle on Village Green a couple of times, and I think everybody knows the main issues with the green. If you look at the green on the left-hand side, pretty straightforward. There's just going to be a replacement chain link fence, and that will be dealt with in conjunction with the neighbour, that is Stuart Slocum, who I've spoken to, and he may use our contractor at the same time as we have the fence done, and that can be done in the new year. On the right-hand side, we had a discussion with all 3 members of the properties next door, agreed with them what we would do. They were happy. It's not really a great deal of change. The undergrowth will be cleared from the bank, leaving some of the saplings there. Going down to the bottom of the green, opposite Bernard Driscoll's place, which has got there is a fence there, which is entangled with ivy, but I think he put it up himself. It's on our ground. And that needs all to be trimmed back. So the contractors will do that. The only difference will be is that they will bring the line, the new line of the metal fencing in onto the green, losing very little ground, but there will be a pathway behind the metal fence where our own contractor can go and scrimp and keep the area clear. So that's it. There was a discussion by one of the neighbours that the bank should be revetted, but that has been decided we don't touch it at all. But we will we will cut the undergrowth, keep things clear, and the contractor will clear it as and when during the year. The two contractors, both of whom have done work on the green, are Ian Morgan, who is very much a hands-on man, and Premier Fencing, which is a large company, both of whom have come. They have given us quotes. Premier Fencing is 5,202 and Ian Morgan is 5,280. So we need to make a decision. We can actually, I think, discuss that now as to who our approved contract would be. That is the VAT inclusive price, by the way. So it is something just over £4,000. Frankly, it's a toss-up between the two of them. They're both excellent companies. I mean, the point was made, because the three of us all seen him, and one has made the suggestion that, well, Ian Morgan is very much a hands-on man. He'll come and supervise it himself. So I am quite ambivalent about it, but if I threw Ian Morgan's name into the pot, I don't know what others would think. But otherwise we could get on with it, and finally the left-hand side of the green will be done in spring as and when the ground is right, and the right-hand side of the green will not be done until September because of bird nesting.
I thought both of them were excellent, but I did think that Premier just had a slight edge. That's all. But I don't know what to say, really.
She was very good. She was extremely good, but she's not going to do the job.
No.
So somebody will come down. But Ian Morgan will be doing it himself. So, dearly, very ambivalent about it from my own point of view. I am.
Well, I think John makes the case for Ian Morgan from my point of view, insofar that he will be on site, and we have, just by clarification, whereas the original specification that John came up with was to literally tear the hedge out all the way down there. That's not now going to happen, merely because if we tear it all out, it's going to spoil the integrity of the existing bank and could lead to even more problems of collapsing into the existing ring. So we've left it in place, and we've agreed with each household what will happen and what they want to happen. So for instance, the Butts will have all theirs just cut down to ground level. Nothing will be taken out of the ground, it'll just be cut down to on Jed Keel's, certain saplings will be taken out together with the existing ivy that's there, to his choice. Mr. Driscoll will have his hedge trimmed and made, still maintain his privacy, and well, he's perfectly happy then with our suggestion. So my move would be to go for, if you want to appoint a contractor that can get on with the work that's got to be over there shortly, I would go for Ian Morgan, but that's my...
And then you get your performance, what do you call it? Prior, what's it?
Purchase order.
Purchase order.
Yeah, I just need to, whoever we decide, I'll just simply send a purchase order to. If you could let me have the, you've got those on your email, have you? Those quotes?
Yeah, I was just going to ask one question. In terms of the costings, am I right in understanding then the costing we've got is for both sides of the grid,
Yes.
but they're being done at two different times?
Yes.
That's no.
Yeah, that's the, yes, but they are inclusive, but that's the all-up
Right. Okay.
charge. Then they are VAT inclusive of the
Which is the more local of the two for contractors?
Ian Morgan, I think.
Ian Morgan.
Well, then let's give it to the local guy.
Well, he certainly knows the village and he knows us. Yeah.
4,400 VAT free.
Well,
that makes no difference because we can claim them back anyway.
Yes, we do. Yes, I know. But they're just the cost to us will be 4,400.
And it's like for like, quite.
Would you like to?
yes. Yes,
So, yeah,
I think
We need to have their exact specifications, so I can put that in a purchase order.
where it will,
Have you got that on email, or is that?
the important
No, this is my own copy.
Right.
The important thing, David, is that we get on the village green with the contractor from day one,
Yeah,
and I've agreed a specification of work, i.e. what will, point by point by point, which I'll give you, which is important that he gets that,
yeah.
because that's his
That's what I
instruction
just
of
mean, yeah.
what to do. Yes, yes. So it won't be left to, in
No.
fact, probably what I should do is circulate that specification of work to everyone, so they're aware of what has been agreed and what we plan to do. So yeah,
If Warwick's was a proposal, I'm happy to second it.
Ian Morgan, are you happy to
Yeah, I
propose?
propose we use the local guy and keep the money in
12
there.
seconds. All those in favour? That's carried. So it's Ian Morgan. John.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well done.
John, if you can let me have that.
I will get it.
I can send it back to you, I can photocopy it and send it back to you. That's any good.
Yes, I just made quite certain I got the right.
Because then because obviously it's right, it's important the purchase order is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it needs to be what he's written as well.
I'll just get it.
Okay, can I leave that with you,
Because
John?
there are two separate quotations which I added them together.
Can we move on to the next item because of time, everyone? I've got an email from George which he's asked me to read out to you. Colin, thank you for meeting me yesterday. Would you please let the council know that I am withdrawing my interest in this project and thank them for their past interest and support. I am taking this action as I find that I am not being a young man, my health is being affected by the stress caused. My health is my most important consideration. I would ask three things of you. First, that when I receive the tenders, would you please reply to the firms involved to say that the project is cancelled. I believe the news should come from the council as the tenders were sent out under their heading. The other two things are, would you please notify the Nuttall Trust and the PCC as again they originally applied to you. I will notify the people and organisations who contact me with their support. As meetings on Wednesday night are difficult for me to attend, I will no longer be coming, but wish you all the best for the future. Regards, George. This is a result, and I feel very sorry for George, insofar that the church really have, or the PCC, have withdrawn their, not only their financial support, but also their administrative support in applying for a faculty to the diocese so that he could actually undertake this work. And he spent an awful lot of time with Mark Lidster and done a thoroughly good job. The tender documents were superb, produced by Mark. Everything was tickety-boo, but I think he'd had enough with the PCC, but I also think he'd had enough with me, because I did say to him that whereas we had supported this tomb project, we hadn't adopted this tomb reconstruction as a parish council project. And what he was asking us to do was to actually submit the faculty report, to do that on his behalf. We had to submit grant applications to Viridor, and he wanted us to enter into legal obligations with the contractors to do the work. That is quite an undertaking for someone or a group on this parish council. Although he's got a lot of wealth of information available, there's an awful lot of admin to do. And he got a bit upset with me because I said, look, we supported you, but we didn't make it into a proper authorised project of the council. And so I think with that, I think he'd had enough with the church letting him down and me probably being a bit, you know, you need to come, George, to the meeting now to tell us what you want and to persuade us that we need to take this project on, because it's a lot of work for someone on this parish council. And I do think we've got enough going on at the moment, because jobs, and I've mentioned it to Andrea, today it's very difficult when you are working full-time to actually sort out these projects that can be done during the day by people like myself, Brian, John, Cynthia, Malcolm, who are not working. We've got the time to do it, and this is why when you become a parish councillor, it's not 1 hour a month, it is several hours a month working outside parish council work, and we need people to take on these projects. You can't expect the same people to do them all the time. I'm going to suggest later in matters of report that we do consider something going forward to try and overcome this, but I do appreciate if you are working full-time, your responsibilities are to your work and your families first, but likewise it's very difficult for those people that are not working, or fortunate enough not to have to work now. You know, we've got to do it all, and it puts a lot of strain on the members. So that's where we are with George. I don't know if anybody's got any comments, but it's quite sad, really.
It is sad. I'm going to reply to it. Well, obviously you're not very well.
Well, I will apply to it, and
Yes.
I'd
Yeah.
like the parish council to guide me in what sort of response should be. Bob?
As you said, Chairman, I think it is disappointing the PCC withdrew that support, because I mean what he was going to sort out would have meant that particular structure didn't need anything done to it probably for the next 100 years, and yet for the sake of a couple £100 and a bit of admin support from them, I think they're going to find it's going to come back and bite them, because at some point what's been pointed out to them is that it is moving, it's not secure, so they're going to have to take action to make sure it's safe in not too many years. So
As Mark Lister pointed out, if it falls down, it's going to require fencing, because it will be a health and safety problem. So they can't have it every way. George was seeking to help them, and he, of the quote, just by way of interest, probably the maximum quote for one contractor would be just say 6,500. He'd secured 3,000 of that in terms of people that were willing to put money in. But I don't know what the parish council feel we should do. There's an awful lot of work to do if he's going to apply to Viridor, an awful lot.
I think we ought to write a letter of thanks to
Yes,
George
Yeah.
for his hard work and the situation that he's been put
Yes.
in, and that we too are disappointed, you know, that he's come up against a brick wall, and to agree, you know, his health does come first, and quite rightly what's happening is that he's got to look after himself. And we'll promise to do the letters, you know, to people saying it's cancelled, and put it back into the PCC's hand, you know, for them to deal with in time.
Yes, I mean, I assume that if it did fall over, it would be a PCC matter anyway. So they'll have to do something about it. So they've really cut their nose
For
off.
£400 they could have had £6,500 worth of work done.
Yeah.
And if you've had a promise, that must be very difficult, you know, that you've ticked that off, haven't you, and then you're going on just to get the next bit.
Yes, it was also the lack of willingness to just help him with basic administration in applying for this faculty. And okay, the church have got different priorities at the moment, given the roof, given the inside of the church, given the running costs of the church. But this guy, beavered away.
Single-handedly.
Yeah.
Yes, I think
And as
it's,
Andrew said, the fact of them spending 200 quid to get 6,000 quid's worth of work done, that's not bad use of their money.
Yeah.
No.
actually.
Again, we'll criticise
But
them for it.
would you? The thing is that George was keen on the parish council promoting this project or taking it on simply because of the savings that could be made. And as Owen pointed out, if he was going to make savings, the parish council would need to take this project on. And I am not sure, in all honesty, that there is the enthusiasm and willingness to take the project on.
Well, if the PCC
Yes.
are not prepared to pull their weight, and we've had George, and we've worked with George, we can't make it a project for ourselves because how are we?
Really involved.
Yes, it's not really our place, is it? They need to take responsibility, but we could help. So I think that George has made his views very clear.
Yeah. Okay. As long as I just wanted to make it clear what I felt our position was in as regards this project as a result of speaking with Owen, which I transmitted to George, and of course George didn't quite get that because he'd been using us to front his original applications, and I said, he must come along, and obviously he's chosen not to. So I am sorry, but I will write to him now formally. Thank you. Okay, 9G, health and safety policy and advisors.
You sent you saw the details. First of all, Nigel, thank you for your contribution. I think we found, having spoken to insurance companies and we had the whole debate about using pesticides, I think we suddenly realised that actually our whole health and safety policy was a little bit lacking in terms of, we've got to do regular risk assessments. I'm not sure whether.
So you said the insurance company?
Insurance company always ask every year whether we do a health and safety policy. Now, up to now, I've always said, well, we kind of keep an eye on it with things like GB Sports and the play equipment, but actually, I couldn't put my hand on my heart and say we definitely did risk assessments annually because we haven't done them annually.
But we have a third party do the risk assessments for
Sorry?
us. We have a third party do the risk assessments for us.
Well, for the play equipment, yeah. I mean, obviously, GB Sports effectively are doing that on that. But of course, there are other aspects to it. The green, the toilet block, for example,
Yeah.
which I don't think we've ever done any sort of risk assessments on. And I spoke to my fellow clerks, and particularly the deputy clerk at Burnham, and I was asking her what they do about their health and safety. And they said, well, they use a company called Ellis Whittam, who come and effectively they take responsibility for the health and safety of all of their activities. So, in other words, they do a complete risk assessment every year. They produce a health and safety policy, and it's updated. They're there as a consultancy as well, so if they have a problem and somebody makes a claim, you've got somebody there who can advise you. And I didn't think it was fair for anybody in this council to take that responsibility on voluntarily. To me, it doesn't seem right and proper. I think if we're asking someone to do a professional job, it should be properly, approached. And I think all of us now, we've got to be so careful about litigation and people taking us to the cleaners, and we've just got to be very, very mindful of all that stuff. And this is why I said, look, should we be thinking about having a formal company who are prepared to take that risk as offering a service. Now, they don't come cheap, as you saw. I mean, they're talking about 1,400 quid a year, 1,400 quid a year, for a complete health and safety service. I haven't been to anybody else because these are the only people I was aware of. There may be others, I don't know. All I know is that they currently do Burnham, and they do, I believe, some work for Taunton Dean. I think it is sort of Sedgemoor. So they are a recognised council contractor.
What would the cost be?
Well, the quote they gave me was about £1,300 for outside of council. They are also recommended by the SLCC, the Society of Local Council Clerks. So yeah.
When we have got, I haven't spoken to Nigel about this, but I'm a great believer is that we all bring something to the table.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a financial director, there's a managing director sat next to me, we've got a headmaster, and that our skills are brought to the table. And I felt that Nigel brought the health and safety element, we've got the communication. I, for one, wouldn't like to see public money spent at £1,400. We've had to write our own health and safety policy. We get audited every year. It is a statement. It is not. It's not sent to. No, it's not a risk assessment. And it's not. You're not set up to fail. The government want you to have this stuff in place for your own protection. It is not like a guessing game. There are so much information, and we've got a worldwide expert that comes to us for nothing. And £1,400 a year, what if they turn around next year and put their prices up? We're stuck because whatever they have, they own. They will be the authors of that, and we won't own it. And I feel that between us we could do this ourselves.
The only thing I would say, is Nigel prepared to take that risk, because he's actually putting his name against something.
It's fine, and I have personal insurance for that. But I'd be interested to hear what the insurer's feedback was.
At the end of the day, it makes no odds to me at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just trying to make sure this council is compliant as it possibly can be. And if that means professional companies, then so be it.
Yeah,
but if the council feel as we're happy to put you in that position, which is not an enviable one necessarily, then I'm equally fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. Sorry.
Yeah, Owen, the statement you said isn't technically correct. They'll charge us £1,400 a year.
Yeah.
They'll create health and safety policy, but it's not an umbrella that gets you out of jail free. It's a set of guidelines that we as a group of people are corporately responsible for. We are the elected members of the parish council, so therefore if there was any issues under health and safety, all of us are in the dock. So irrespective of where you get your advice, or they just cut and paste the template, there you are, Owen, that's it, £1,400. Like I said last time, 60 to 70% of our risk assessment is we're already contractually doing, because we're employing an outside contractor to give us a set of traffic lights on all of our risks within inside the playground environment, which is potentially where the majority of claims would come from. We've got a car park and a toilet block as the only other potential risk there are for the parish council. So I think we could take Nigel's advice and create that document. However, if we are going to apply a health and safety policy, then all of us here have to sign up to it, and it's a set of guidelines we have to adopt. The other thing as well is, if we are on the point of health and safety, all this fencing and everything going on in the playing fields, have you got any RAM statements from any of these companies? That's our risk and method statements of how they're going to do it to protect the general public and the children whilst this work is in progress, because it's technically a building site, so there's got to be temporary fences put to stop the children going in, falling in the reams, all that. So that's a RAM statement, which is part of our health and safety. We'd have to make sure that is fit for purpose, because we are employing the contractor to do the work for the parish council on our behalf. So essentially we have to make sure it's done properly. So there's an awful lot that can be brought to the table by people in other different walks of life, and
I don't have a problem with that. I'm quite happy with all of that.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with all of that, and I accept that if we appoint a contractor, and we haven't done in the past, asked them, for instance, when Paul Dixon probably did the toilet block, fenced it off, never gave any statement, probably didn't even consider one. So it's okay coming at us now, and I understand the point you're making, and the input is greatly received. I think, from my own point of view, I would like to identify in this village exactly the areas that we are responsible for, so we have a list of them, and then I suggest that we have some form of statement and risk assessment associated with each of those places. But rest assured, we cannot do it. Nigel, you are the only one that can do that, unless we go outside. So you will have to
Why can't you do that as well?
give up some
Okay,
time
so
to be able to do
to
it.
lead the risk assessment, yes, but we are all capable of being part of that risk assessment team with the lead.
Okay, so
But I'm not suggesting that we would all go around and do the risk assessment, but I would take the lead. And I'm happy to review what the comments are on the health and safety policy and review that document.
I mean, to be
The only
honest,
downside is with regards, and I think I've said to you before, currently in my current role, there is a lot of focus that I have to put into some quite detailed stuff like acquisitions and this coronavirus that's going around. So crisis management currently is up here with me. So time that I can put in and focus I can put in is not going to be 100% of what you would expect. But that's now for the next 2 months. So that would be the only downside.
Just go back and review it again later on, when things perhaps have changed. As I say, my only reason for bringing this up was because I felt that we had to have something in place that was not just on the green, but we run even our dog bins and our rubbish bins around the village. I mean, they're all part of what we're responsible for as a council.
yeah, and a list
Benches.
of those, and then we make sure that we, as if you like, as a group, take responsibility for helping to put them all together. But we do need to have a list, comprehensive list, so we address the items. But it cannot be left to one person.
It's not
It
fair
needs
on- it's not
a
fair on
group
it,
effort.
is it?
Yes, Bob.
I was only going to say, if and I don't want to drop Andrew in it, but if you were saying that you, Warwick and Nigel are up for
I would
having a
definitely-
subgroup,
I'd definitely do that.
to call on other people to feed in bits as you need, but then maybe that could get on with it as time permits, and then report back to maybe the May meeting when we start the new council. That gives us a couple of months, and then we've got something actually underway rather than just waiting to
So,
start talking about
so
it.
effectively you're a subgroup, basically.
Yeah.
So-
But I take Warwick's point there, which I think is important. Every time we place an order with a contractor of any shape, form or size, we should have some documentation or paragraphs, which probably you may be able to help us with, that gets pinned to this order, that states what we expect to be their health and safety or their method of working statement. David?
What about Jason? Because if he's working on the green, we've got nothing. Obviously, he's got a cover, but he ought to have a risk.
Round statement.
Yeah.
One of the things to suggest, I know that Barrow Parish Council have just been doing a lot of reviewing of this, so it might be worth having a word with John Augustus and maybe passing on what they have got. They've been working out all sort of documents that they need to get contractors to sign up to before they employ them.
Can you forward that name to me then?
Yeah.
The other thing I suppose we could do ultimately, if we felt we wanted to, and that is to get this guy from Aswin to come to our parish council meeting, talk to us about what he can do for us that we can't do ourselves. In other words, say, look, if you feel that your service is a compliant service for our council, come and talk to us.
Yeah, and what does it consist of? Nigel, we'll keep quiet about what you do.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't be
We'll do the reverse, reverse console thing. We'll ask him for the time, ask him for his watch, and tell him the
So
time.
that's something for the future, which we could consider if we felt that there's too much time involved, and we wanted to, have another look at it and see what else we could
Okay, let's draw up this list.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
we've got an asset register, of course,
The
which
list
we have
is
every year.
starting place.
Well, things are is the planters at the ends of the village, because we put them in. They're not highways, so we're responsible for them. Things like that.
And signs.
Notice
And
boards.
signs, yeah.
Notice boards. You know.
Okay,
Okay,
so
fine.
we'll get a list together and go from there. Thank you. Andrea, you've nicely got Mark Lidster to come and speak to us. At
Oh, yeah, what a coup, eh?
yeah, it was a very good move, that was, yeah.
Yeah, I was really
So it'd be
pleased.
very interesting
Yeah,
to see
but-
the reaction of people to his present
Style.
Yeah,
We,
brilliant.
we met him quite early on, and we literally had waited for him to get the post because we wanted to ask him questions because our windows were rotten. And when he turned up, you were like, oh, all right, okay. Well, that's not really what I expected because he is very well spoken, isn't he, on the telephone?
Yeah, it looks like it's easy talk.
Yeah, and then the beard, you know, and he had beads in it, didn't he? You know, and he was, and yet the wealth of information was
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
yeah, no, it would be good.
Just
Really good.
amazing.
Yeah,
So he's booked, is he?
He's booked.
He's booked.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
we had the chance, you know, did we want to have just a conversation, you know, or just a little bit of a chat, or did we want, you know, PowerPoint and I said, oh yeah, we want all that.
We want some advertising for this, really.
Yeah. What date is it?
It's April, it's the third Wednesday in April.
Yeah, we need to get something out, probably under
You know, just thinking.
newsworthy items. We could
Yeah,
look at something to go out on next door or the local.
20.
Yeah. Okay. Brian, making improvements.
I want to pursue this, and of course I've just mentioned a few minutes ago the red, white and blue trough suggestion, to tie in with VE Day and VJ Day in May and August. Following my talk last year, I did mention about making a film of the village, and Richard Ibrahim took me up on it, and in fact I've had a meeting with him recently, and he's all for it. It won't cost us anything. He reckons he'll have an HD camera and be able to do it. And when he's finished with it, he'll sell the camera. So he's quite happy to do that. We've made a few plans as to how we're going to go about doing it. And just want your verbal support, really. That's all. But also, as regards the improving the village, I think we could put a letter out to the village via the BKN, as we said about perhaps having hanging baskets of blue, red, white and blue, and build it up from there and see how that goes. All right?
Hanging baskets of Brent Knoll. Hanging baskets of Brent Knoll.
The hanging baskets of Brent Knoll.
So there are two suggestions from Brian there. One, the film with Richard, and two, we get something out in the BKN about VE Day and a red, white and blue.
If I draw up a letter and send it round to you for approval.
To go
or
and
it
okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Well done. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Well done. Housing needs survey. Not sure.
Well, put it on there because obviously it was sent out to everybody, and I just thought maybe you may or may not want to make some comments about it. That's all.
Just a matter of interest about what we were talking about earlier on. If that development went ahead, the number of people in that part, Station Road and the A38, would represent about over 10% of this village, and that is quite a big jump. So,
I've got I printed out and read it, the housing need assessment from Duncan Harvey. There's nothing in there that we don't know.
I don't know whether it's relevant at this particular time, but South West Housing are having a meeting here on Friday and Saturday about the development at top of Station Road. And I don't know whether they've had a selected list
Well,
they've
they've,
sent out, or whether it's open to the public.
they've got the 3 houses on Rightmove at the moment, 2 semi-detaches and 1 detached house, which are on Rightmove. So they're obviously now launching some properties. This is open market properties.
That's the Station Road.
Yeah. West Coast of Burnham are actually marketing those actually.
Bob?
The meeting that Malcolm referred to is open to the public, and when people read their Brent Knoll Newses, they'll see that there's an article in there from South West Housing inviting people to come along to it. So it is a public meeting. It's aimed both at the open market and at the rent ones as well. So yeah.
Okay. Last item, Peter, when he addressed the council, said he didn't want any more dog bins, but we know that there's a lack of, if you like, available dog bin from the road opposite the tennis courts on down through the village, particularly towards Manor Ride. There used to be, as we all know, a bin outside the school, which we relocated, didn't we, to the end of Roddy's Lane, which is used. They are used. Our bins, our dog bins are well used and regularly emptied. So people are getting better. I wonder whether we should. Do you remember, Bob? You gave us some signs, some Sedgemoor District signs once, or Brian did, about white and red signs with a circle, clear up your mess.
I've supplied about 18 of those to the lady who's doing the campaign of the bins.
Yeah.
So she's got those, and a number of them have already gone up on various places in the village. So she is distributing them in conjunction with where she's putting them.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there are quite a few of those going up.
Okay. But we talked last time about putting one in the verge, which is adjacent to the large Lilandai hedge, to the tennis court, right opposite the end of the lane that goes across the fields. And we thought that was the most obvious place. I think we need to, if you put one there, it's not going to distress anyone.
No.
I.e., you don't want one on your garden gate.
The only thing is there's no path there, is there, for people to stand and walk on? It's just a bit of a verge.
There's no path, there's just a verge, so you'd have to cross the road to get to it. But where else do you put one without offending?
At the end of the lane.
There is one.
Well, there are 2 houses. There are 2 houses, drives either side.
The chicken coop.
Is it better there or on the tarmac where it is anyway, because...
But if you went down the lane, it's about the vehicle getting down there to empty.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't turn around there,
You'd have to park and then walk down.
Yeah.
And also the one that we had some objections when it went from opposite the school, that was on the opposite side again, on the verge rather than on a pavement. So I mean, people did cross over to use that, and at least it's. I mean, we've had the experience of locating these too close to people, and then finally we've had lots of complaints. We've had to move them again. So we heard from.
I did speak to Alison Hillier, who's the either secretary or chairman of the tennis. She said she couldn't see any reason why they would have any problem with it, although she did feel she wanted to put it to a committee. Now, I mean, obviously they don't necessarily have any influence in a way because it's not on their land. It's very close to them though, isn't it?
But it wouldn't need to be put close to their entrance.
Yeah.
But the Leylandai hedge is quite long. It was put in the middle of the Leylandai hedge. It wouldn't really interfere with the house on the left or the tennis club's entrance on the right. So it's
but in principle, she doesn't think there's a problem.
Do we,
Yes.
with Amy doing the bottles, with the bags in, do we give that 3 months to see if that piece of land, you know, or that pathway improves? I've put one on my fence as well because I just felt it was a good idea. I don't mind going out and spending a quid and getting some more bags, but people don't tend to walk dogs up by me because I'm right next to the A38. But I just felt I would participate, and I wonder if all of us ought to participate. It was a plastic bottle with a piece taken out, and you just put some bags in, you know, and we see if things improve. Because they are expensive, these bins, and like you said, if we locate it, and then people say we don't want it here, then we've got to locate it again. All this time it's costing us money, and is it going to be used?
Talking about poo, the poo bags, I have to say it's not, it wasn't Brent Knoll correspondence who put on burnonc.com objections to people hanging poo bags on posts outside other people's houses. That was the initiative of Amy Watson, who was the thing. But burnonc.com, I mean, they have their forum, and they had comments on what Brent Knoll were up to.
Did they? What, they don't like it?
No, they said the idea of hanging poo bags outside people's houses was not very attractive.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll remove that.
They're empty, though. They're empty.
Well, I did say last winter, people were talking about poo bags and hanging on fences. So I said, bring them home and keep your hands warm.
Can I suggest then that we press Alison Hillier to come back to
Yeah.
us with
Okay.
the results
Well,
of
I'll give her
her
another
decision,
call,
and then at least we can make some form of decision
Yeah.
whether we're going to do it or not. At least if we know they're okay about it, then we can make a decision. Okay, thank you. Last one really. Are there any newsworthy items that might...
Well, only the objection to the planned development on Brent Knoll. That's fairly newsworthy, I was there.
Yeah, unanimous decision,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And also about sponsoring
VED, yeah, I think so.
That's one of those words.
And about maybe asking everyone to consider some form of red, white and
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
display for VE Day on, and give them plenty of notice,
Yeah.
in particular on the 8th, 9th and 10th of May.
And you would like this sent to the local press?
I think it's from Paris.
I was only going to say, if you do highlight the May one, we need to highlight the August one as well.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
the VJ.
I know it's way off, but
Yeah, okay. Can I suggest that it goes on Nextdoor and burnonc.com? I don't see any reason for it to go anywhere else.
No,
To be honest with you. Will you draft it and then
I'll
get
draft
it
it,
out?
I'll just draft it
Okay.
and send it out.
And then will you all make sure that you respond to it, because we set in our policy a period of 24 hours, so at least the news is fresh. So please will you respond to Owen with any amendments or agreements. You don't have to send it to everybody else if you because it creates so many unnecessary emails. Just send it straight back to Owen and then he can rejig it. Okay.
I'm sure Brian will have a few amendments.
Okay, matters of report.
No, thank you.
Sin? Nigel?
No.
Hey? No.
No.
Sorry.
Ah.
We mentioned under fives last time, and I said I'd bring it up under matters report, and we were waiting to hear value from that fund.
The Nuttall Trust.
Nuttall Trust.
I'm told that we've been given £1,000 to spend how we would want to,
Oh, good.
but we haven't got it yet. So until I see it, I don't know. But we are committed for some sustainable bench, which we said we'd buy.
Yeah.
But perhaps we could do something else with the remainder.
Yes. Also, my older daughter is a personal assistant to the boss at Bath and West, Shepton Mallet, and she sent me this, which is for getting funds if we needed them. We'd like to look at them, but the closing date is April the 3rd, which is quite rather soon.
So does that mean if we've got a particular project?
Yeah. Yeah, so it gives you this gem there. You can keep that because I've got it on.
Well, that was Garth West who did the Hills and Levels project, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
You were involved in that.
sponsored by the
Yeah.
that lottery,
Yeah.
not national lottery, the postcode lottery. That's what it was. Okay, I'll have a look.
Have you thought any more about the telephone kiosk? As I've mentioned
Yes,
that
yeah.
before,
I think we should sell it.
and I said I would like to see it moved to be a feature on the village
He was only
green.
joking.
What, painted blue?
Well, there is one, the only thing I'd
Because
say about
it's
that,
an icon, isn't it?
when we actually agreed to buy it, we actually did agree to keep it where it is.
Yeah. Thank
As
you.
part of our contractual agreement. Now, I'm sure we can, I'm sure we could go back and ask permission, and we might be able to move it. I don't know.
Of course, the only thing is the cost, what the cost would be.
I was rather hoping we might make a
It'd
few.
be a nice feature, I thought.
Extra toilet.
Yeah.
You could do with it.
See-through toilet?
That's what
You know where you want
children.
to, you know where you want to house that defibrillator, they were sticking in there.
Yeah.
No, it's just a suggestion, which
Don't
I
you
thought
start
might
on
be
me,
good.
Warwick. Yeah. No, I think it is worthy of consideration because, yeah.
Is that where it is at the moment, it doesn't sort of stand out, does it?
Where do you want it, in the middle of the road?
Traffic calming again.
Yeah.
You stood it against some greenery.
Yeah.
On the
Put it
village
in,
green,
um,
perfect.
Miss Francis Doofus.
It's a red elephant.
The oak trees.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be it.
That's BT Day.
Yeah.
If you'd like me to find out from BT whether we could move it, if we wanted to.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, if you want.
David,
Yeah.
nothing from me. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, John, is this the thing for, have you got the...
Let me talk to you, one second.
Okay.
John,
He will talk to you in a minute.
can you give me this?